All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. And thank you for tuning into the podcast. This is the Grace for This City podcast. And we're so excited that you are joining us right now live. You know what to do if you believe, and we know you do, come on, that this is going to bless somebody, then share it. A couple ways you can do that. Of course, if you're watching us now live on Facebook, you can grab the link. By the way, Facebook has allowed for us to share the link to the live feed to people that don't even have a Facebook account, and they can tune in the archives later. That is phenomenal. And so thank you so much for considering that. Hey, we've got a great episode that we're going to launch into here in just a moment. And I'm telling you, I'm excited because I've got a special guest here today, and I'm joined in the studio right now with my good friend, Dr. Wes Northey. Hey, brother.
Man, I'm so grateful to be here, bro.
Oh, dude.
I'm so excited. I can't wait to jump in.
Man, hey, guys, this is a real treat for me because Wes and I go way, way back. And, man, the Lord just reconnected us recently, and I'm telling you, it's been phenomenal. So, man, I'm glad you were here. You're in the studio.
That's right. That's right. It's been powerful reconnecting, bro.
Yeah, man.
And we're absolutely going to bless some people today.
Okay.
I know that. I believe that.
Awesome. All right. Well, hey, couple things. Of course, I want to say thank you because you are helping us. We couldn't do what we're doing without you. So I want to say thank you in advance for believing in the podcast, for partnering with us, for helping us get the word out there. A couple things that I want to remind you of, as always, is we're producing the CD version of each episode. And we discovered that not everybody is all, technical. Some people don't. Either they don't want to or they don't know how to tune into the digital versions. And so if you know of somebody that would be blessed either by today's episode or any episode, if you'll just write to us, send me an email at hello@gracecitychurch.tv. We'll send it to them at no charge. It's our honor to do that. And so I want you to be thinking about who might be blessed. This one here was episode 64. This one is Vessels of Honor. We talked about carrying ourselves with honor. This one here is episode 62. This one is What Kind of Man Are You? And we delve into what the Bible says. What kind of man are you? Great episode. So be thinking about that. All right. You guys ready? Oh, I think we're ready. Wes, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Here we go. And in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Grace for This City podcast. We're helping you turn your cities upside down. Hey, I'm your host, Justin Goff. Stay tuned. We got a great show for you today. All right. Hey, thank you for tuning in. This is the Grace for This City podcast. I'm your host, Justin. Hey, we're helping you turn your cities upside down. How are we doing that? Well, we're giving you scriptural motivation and strategies so you can get out there and get some stuff done for the King Jesus, that is. And of course, let me answer this question because people ask it. What do you mean by turning our worlds upside down? Listen, the world is already perverted or inverted. People are living upside down. They're confused. They're lost. We believe that the light of the truth, the gospel of Jesus Christ, actually will right wrongs. And so, people are living upside down, but they can be turned right side up. And I'm telling you that dysphoria, the dizziness, the confusion will leave when people start living right side up. And I'm telling you, friends, that's what you are called to do right now. And I've got a guest in the studio today that's going to help us do that. I'm so excited. I'm joined right now in the studio with my good friend, Dr. Wes Northey.
Hey, Justin.
Hey, brother.
Bro, this is special, man. Thank you for letting me get to be here, to share with your audience, to connect, to grow. What our relationship has been.
Yeah.
You're like a brother to me.
Yeah,
you
man.
really are. And we, like you mentioned earlier, we go way back.
Oh, dude. I hate
back.
to say how far.
I
We're
don't
giving
want
away
to.
our ages.
I know. It's making me, we're going gray. We got a few gray hairs.
Totally, man. Did you see that?
I've got a few.
Oh, my goodness.
We're old enough, at least, to say it's been a couple decades.
Yeah.
And we'll get into this, I'm sure, today. But
Okay, good.
We parted ways. for a long time. And this is our opportunity to really.
This is our comeback story.
This is the comeback story. That's right. That's exactly right.
Hey, little fun fact. I don't want to camp out on this, but Wes and I were in a band. Okay, I mean, you know, we might have been really famous, but we don't talk about that. We may or may not have been famous. Yeah, you know,
could have been, may or may not be.
Right. Like our siblings came to watch us, but you know, of course they would have.
Parents too. I mean, there's definitely some parents there as well.
Man, Wes, you are. I mean, I'm so glad to have you here. You are. I mean, you. First of all, you are a legitimate doctor.
Sure.
You are well educated. You had just a phenomenal career path just in that alone, physical health. And, you know, maybe in another podcast, we'll talk about how you helped me actually recover from a major injury.
Yeah.
But you've kind of transitioned into this other opportunity. And I'm telling you, it is phenomenal. Now, I don't know exactly what all you're going to dive into today on the podcast, but man, you are on a trajectory to help so many people.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that means a lot. It does, because this is more than just a career path now that I'm on. You know?
It really is.
It's a mission.
Yeah, some of the stuff that you've told me, I mean, it really is a mission. So, man, just jump into the podcast.
Sure.
Share with us whatever is on your heart. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. I think probably the best place to start is really looking back what's near maybe 4 to 4.5 years ago now. And I had a moment I'll never forget, being at home and very confused, very discouraged, because I had just really spent over a decade of my life accomplishing things that I had previously never thought would be possible, frankly. Earlier in my life, I had been, I've shared this with you, bro, but when we parted ways from our early teenage years, I went on a difficult path, man. I went on a really difficult path for a long time, left my faith, and just had a lot of past struggles that started coming up in my life. Previous, childhood trauma and pains and things that led to chronic depression, which later turned into addictions and just a brokenness. And it's been about 15 years ago, I actually hit bottom and wanted to take my own life. The enemy at that time had really convinced me that everyone in my life would be better without me.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, if anybody out there that's listening right now is at a point, where you have just kind of a hopelessness, now is the time to act and to respond. Now is the time to be seeking help, because when that starts to spiral, you can get so deep sometimes that you lose that light at the end of the tunnel. And that's really what the definition of despair actually is. It's a lack of hopelessness. Or a lack of hope, right?
Lack of hope. Wow.
And so I reached that point, and by God's grace, man, I was blessed with a second chance at life. I really was. I had previously been, like I mentioned, those personal struggles. I'd been homeless for a brief period.
Wow.
I had been an 8th grade dropout. I was supposed to be homeschooling, quote, air quotes here. And I started working full-time in the back of the kitchen. You and I were talking about this recently, just a house burning down, among other things, drug addictions in the family. So all these things, God gives me another chance at life. And I just thought, okay, this is a gift, and I need to do everything I possibly can to become a good man, a good husband, a good father. And I did. And over a decade, it was a long journey, a lot of forgiveness, growth, went back to school, like you mentioned, was able to do
so
things.
You were an 8th grade dropout.
Yeah.
And then went through this stuff, and then part of your recovery was you went back to school. You are a doctor.
Yeah.
How that's what, 6 years, something, 8?
No, it took me almost 8. So I'm a doctor of physical therapy, and post-grad, that was really another 3 years after that. So, and I'm telling you, that wasn't the intention, because I didn't give myself even the chance to think that would ever be possible. So
right.
I thought, I had earlier become a massage therapist, because it was a 4-month program. And I was like, I can go to school for that.
We can do that in 4 months.
I can do that. I can knock out 4 months. And then when I had that second chance at life, started to get my life on track, met my wife, who's just my very best friend in the world at that time. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go back to school. And I was looking at an associate's degree to be a physical therapy assistant. And I just loved the field, the discipline. I was introduced to physical therapy at a rehabilitation center, and I thought, how awesome, like what these people do, but I could never do that. There's like no way I could ever be like Dr.
Because you were like what, fighting from like this idea of failure or whatever.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, just limits. You know, limits on potential.
I want to throw something in here to Wes because I knew Wes back. I first met you. You were 13.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And from the outside, it really looked like, man, everything was great. Like you had it made.
Yeah.
And in that interesting, people can, have maybe an apparent, of course, it's not that we knew everything, but I'm saying just like on an initial look at your life and family, it seemed like everything's great.
It's true.
But how many people behind the scenes though, man, there's these major struggles.
That's right.
One thing, just to throw in something funny here, when you were working in that kitchen, Wes would sneak us these garlic biscuits.
Dude, I forgot about it.
We'd come up to the back door of where Wes worked,
best.
And he would hand us these garlic biscuits. They were so good.
They were so good.
I'm telling you.
Well, and plus, I mean, we were broke kids, so like being able to get like a handful of biscuits.
We had a buddy that had a job where biscuits were. Anyway, sorry. All right.
So true. Those biscuits were good.
Back on track. They were really good.
They were life sustaining.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, being the thought of going to school was obviously not something that seemed practical for a long period of time. And I thought, okay, 2 years, I could have a viable career out of that. I was a young dad, and I was like, I can knock that out. And as soon as I enrolled in classes, I just felt like God's calling was on my heart to go all the way. And I told the Lord, I was like, there's no way. There's no way that that's possible. Like I can't do that. And I surrendered to it. I surrendered to that calling, and it became something that instead of climbing the entire mountain, which seemed insurmountable, to okay, let's take this and we'll break it down, right? 1 year at a time, 1 month at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 day at a time. And that turned into a semester, a class, a test. And that's what helped me remain focused on those finish lines, right? Because I think there's so many things that come up in our life that we'd like to do. And when we want to dream big, and we might have like a God-sized dream on our heart, something that's bigger than what we believe we're capable of achieving, that's the very opportunity that we have to lean into God for strength, right? That's why he puts those things on our heart, because we can't do it without him, right? He desires, I believe, for each and every one of us to have something greater to not just accomplish for ourselves, but to ultimately contribute toward his will, right? Toward building the kingdom, towards serving that greater good. And we're only capable of doing that if we rely on him for strength.
Wow.
And that was one of my first real early moments of saying, okay, with God, truly all things are possible. You know, they really are. And we might be more inclined to put limits on ourselves for what we think that we're capable of.
Right.
But we confuse that and misinterpret that a lot with what God can do with us. Right. We too often tell ourselves, no, I can't. And that's what my story was.
Man, the enemy is such a liar.
Yes, 100%. I mean, that's his tool.
Yeah.
That's the weapon that he forms against us is the insidiousness of the lies that he tells us.
Yeah, you can't. You're a loser.
That's right.
No one loves you.
That's exactly right.
You won't amount to anything.
And he smells it out.
Wow.
You know, like a shark smells blood in the ocean.
Yeah.
I mean, if we give in, and here's the thing that we all do, and we don't even recognize because it's so repetitive, and it's so much of a subconscious behavior that we run these patterns with our language and our behaviors every day.
Wow.
Right? If what I'd encourage the viewers and the audience to do is just start start taking stock and examining in the daily language that you're using
Yeah.
when you're by yourself in particular.
Yeah.
So there's our external dialogue that we have with people that we interact with in our home life.
Some of that's
our work
faked.
life. Totally.
Right.
It's
Some
very
of it's a put on.
superficial.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have these like kind of canned responses, right? Like, hey, how's it going today?
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
Oh,
Yeah, how are you?
I'm
Yeah.
blessed.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Actually, I'm broken is
that's right.
what maybe should be said. In
Well,
certain,
and to your point earlier, I mean, it's like we don't know what people are going through. We have these assumptions, but so we have that language that we use with others, and then we have the way that we speak to ourselves when we're by ourselves. And the truth is, most of us speak to ourselves the way that we wouldn't speak to our worst enemy, right? Like we can
Wow,
become our
dude, come on.
harshest critics.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can become so judgmental of ourselves. I'm stupid. I'm worthless. I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
We look at ourselves in the mirror. I'm fat. I'm ugly. Why would anybody love me? I've failed. I've messed up. And we reiterate our failures, our mistakes, our shame over and over and over again, like a program, right? And when we do that, the limits on our potential just become greater and greater barriers to try to break through. They really do.
Wow.
And so we try to hand over our spiritual life to the Lord and we say, okay, God, your will be done. Help me get through this. And then we, again, most of the time it's unconscious, but then we create walls around that.
You know, something that we would say along these lines is, what are you saying when you don't realize what you're saying? That's what you really believe. So, you know, if people could take an inventory, as you were saying, of some of that internal dialogue, or if they could, you know, and this takes practice too, just begin to journal down things, that internal image, because the internal belief is a GPS. That's where you're going.
That's right.
I mean, that's where you're navigating to. And unfortunately, you draw external factors to either support that.
Yes.
Misery loves company.
That's right.
You know, you start drawing in people or hanging out with people that are going nowhere.
Yep.
To make you feel better about, you know, and so it can become this crazy vicious cycle that can just spiral and snowball.
Yeah, that's
right?
Exactly right. No,
But most people aren't really aware of kind of that internal.
No, we're not.
At least not at first.
No, yeah, you're right. I mean, it has to be intentional. But back to what we were mentioning earlier on this point was like, the enemy picks up on that.
Yeah, sure. You can smell it, right?
Exactly. I mean, like, if we're alone and we're already equipping him with the attack to use against us, right? Like we don't realize, like we're literally providing the necessary tools to break us down. By doing these things, right? Instead of being very purposeful, being very intentional about what I believe God has given us our responsibility to choose how we respond to the circumstances of life, to the opportunities that we have, to the challenges, to the successes and achievements. We all have the opportunity to choose how we respond. And if every time we're alone, we're beating ourselves up and we're breaking ourselves down and we forget we're children of God. We're created in his image. We've invited him to reside within us, but we're willing to break down the temple. I mean, how consistent is that with our faith journey and our faith walk, right?
For you, what was that moment where you were like, wait a second, this isn't true about me?
Yes.
These are lies.
Thank you. I mean, I'm glad you said that, because to kind of circle back around to that opening part of the story, when I was home about 5 years ago, you know, like I said, I had spent that 10 years.
Man.
I earned a doctorate, right? Which just seemed ridiculous. I'm not kidding.
Doctor.
Yeah. I don't know how much of your audience is familiar with the term imposter syndrome. Okay. But
I don't even know if I've
really
heard of that. Wow.
Okay.
But
so,
what is it?
Imposter syndrome is when you're in a position and you don't believe that you're qualified to be there.
Wow.
Right. And you're essentially hoping that no one's going to find out that you're actually a fake, that you're actually not good enough, you're actually a fraud, right? And that feeling was very apparent for me during my graduation ceremony with my class, right? Like I was voted by my class to speak at our ceremony, our graduation ceremony. I was surprised to receive a Leadership Excellence Award. And I go up to speak, and in my mind, I'm like, I don't even belong here.
Wow.
I'm a dropout. I'm not good enough. I don't
Dude,
belong
the
in
devil's
this
dirty,
company.
man.
Yeah, he is, and he had a strong grip on me for a long time, to bring me to the point where I was earlier in life, and those, that grip was still on me, right?
Wow.
And so, amazing experience going through all these things. But shortly after, I thought, what do I do now, God? Because I was home and I had that feeling like no matter what I do, it's still not good enough.
Wow.
And I
Man,
thought,
man.
I've spent over a decade and you've provided for me, Lord. I have a good family. I have my dream home. I have a career. I have my children. I'm a good man. I'm a good husband. I'm a good father. Why do I still feel this way about me in my heart?
Mm-hmm.
And I really didn't know where to go next. And a short time after that, this is really funny, but I was listening to a random playlist in my headphones. I was exercising.
It's always random, right?
Yeah, exactly. Pure coincidence.
Yeah.
No, I was listening.
Setup.
This playlist was on, and a track came on, and there was a voice that had been like kind of overdubbed over the music, and the voice was like, "You need a new mind," and I stopped everything I was doing, and it sounded like God.
It
And I
might
looked
have
at
been Wes.
Yeah. It was Bishop T.D. Jakes on this track, who I had never previously been familiar with.
Yeah.
But I just began to listen to this man mentor me and coach me around having a new mindset.
Wow. Wow.
And something struck me, and I thought that's exactly right, because no matter how I feel about myself in my heart, I have to change what I believe about myself in my mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's the limiter right there. It's in our mind, right? And I knew from my education with neuroscience and in physical therapy school, I mean, we dissected cadavers. So I've explored the human body from head to toe.
Right.
I mean, every single thing that you can imagine, we examined with the human person, including brain. And if you don't know what it's like to reach into a bucket and pull a human brain out, it's a pretty unique experience.
I don't.
So we studied the brain in terms of rehabilitation, right? So for us as physical therapists, it was in order to help victims who've suffered stroke or traumatic brain injury, right? Previously, in the scientific world and community, it was believed that when you had a brain injury, it was permanent. And this wasn't even that long ago. A couple decades ago, it was still really considered that if you were suffering from paralysis, right, a lot of folks would know that have known someone that's had a stroke, you'll have one-sided paralysis.
Okay, yeah.
And when that happened years ago, it was really just compensatory options at that point. It was like, oh, we're sorry, like you're paralyzed.
Wow.
That's the way it is.
Okay.
And then the more studies that were done on the brain itself, it was actually discovered that the brain is what we call, it has plasticity.
Yeah, plasticity.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. That's awesome concept.
Yes.
And reality.
Well, it's truth. I mean, it's truth that the brain can the brain changes. The brain's actually constantly changing.
Wow.
And that's a very, very exciting thing for a lot of reasons. The application for myself in my own life was that, okay, I wasn't suffering necessarily from a traumatic brain injury, but I did have elements of PTSD.
Sure.
I had childhood trauma.
Uh-huh.
I had these ingrained conditioned beliefs around what was possible and my sense of self-identity.
Wow.
I had a tendency toward depression and addiction. I had previous experience with anxieties, right? All of these things that a lot of what modern medicine provides for are medications and pharmaceuticals for, and sometimes that's absolutely necessary. But the truth is that the brain, by God's design, can change.
Yeah. Wow.
And it has to be intentional.
There's a scripture in Romans 12. It says, be not conformed, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Amen. That's one of my very favorite verses.
So nobody is just stuck ultimately.
Amen.
They can, do things like what you did. They can try again.
Yes.
You can try again.
Always. Always. Yeah.
Wow.
It's never
Permanent.
It's never permanent. It's
Defeat,
really not.
failure, these insecurities, it is not permanent.
That's exactly right. And so much of it comes back to our sense of self-identity because we all have previous failures and mistakes in our life. I mean, we all do. The problem is that so many of us misinterpret those failures to being a failure.
Wow.
And there's a very, very clear difference there.
Wow.
Failing is actually necessary.
Sure.
It's actually a requirement to grow, to learn. Like, we must fail.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite examples of this, especially talking in regards to development, right, in many stages of life, if you look at a child, for instance, a toddler that's learning to walk and to kind of navigate through the world and hold items and stuff, they're constantly failing.
Yeah.
They're
They're going to try and stand up and fall down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No one gives up during that process where it's like, this isn't going to work.
You got a kid going, I quit.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Carry me around forever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the truth is, while that process is taking place, while those attempts are being made, neural networks are forming in the brain and throughout the body. There's a lot going on. There is a lot happening. Yeah. It is not, we see surface level of like, oh, isn't that cute? Little Bobby's like taking his first step. There are so many different things that have happened in order to accomplish that task.
Wow.
And a great analogy for this also is everyone knows that first feeling when you were learning how to drive a car, right? You get in the car, and how overwhelming is it?
Sure.
Seatbelt.
Especially if it's a standard,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they use both feet.
Young people, bro, are not learning with standards anymore. You and I probably do.
Do these kids don't even know how to drive anymore?
No, they don't. It's going to be automatic driving for everybody. So we're losing touch with the younger generation.
Siri, take me to the store.
Exactly. And then they're mad when, right, when it's not like instant. Yeah.
Take me
a whole
to a
separate
job.
podcast.
Anyway, that's another podcast. Okay, sorry.
It's true though.
There we go.
But everyone does remember that feeling of overwhelm, that there's just 500 different things. Keep your hands at 10 and 2. Then you get out on the road and you're trying to assess traffic and speeds and, I'm going over. I need to turn on my blinker, the lights, and all these different things are happening. And we're trying to stay focused and conscious of making good decisions, right, in order to learn how to drive. And now, how often do you get in your car and you don't think about any of that?
Right. Yeah. It's
It's all automated.
Yeah.
It's all just
You just
processed.
do it.
You just do it, and it's all unconscious at this point. That's what that's what our body and our brain is actually designed to do. It's if we have repetition that's introduced regularly, and it's task oriented, and it's goal driven, our body, designed again by God in order to do this more effectively, is to automate everything, so that we don't have to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because every time you got in your car, if you had to think about those things, no one would be driving.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So you do something enough times, and then it's on autopilot from there, right? Yeah. So again, that goes back to what we were mentioning earlier. So many of us run these automatic programs of how we're speaking, how we're thinking, our actions, our behaviors, and we are completely unaware of what we're doing to ourselves more often than not. And unfortunately, we're inundated with things that are trying to grab our attention, notifications, the phone, broadcasts, like everything is throwing so much at us that we're constantly just taking in. And we are less and less taking time to actually dial into what we're doing intentionally anymore.
So, if we bring up that passage again, Romans, conformity itself isn't bad. It just depends on what you're being conformed to. And so what you're saying, a lot of people are reinforcing things that are continuing to shape a negative self-image or something. They may not realize that they're continuing baking that thing in there.
That's right.
When they could begin to add a new catalyst, draw from a different source of inspiration.
Yes.
That would align with, ultimately maybe what the Lord created us for. But if people are just wanting just basic change and adjustment or to alter the seemingly the trajectory they're in, well, first of all, they need to get a new source of thought.
Yes. Boom. That's it.
And that's what you were saying.
Exactly
T.D.
right.
Jakes boomed or the Lord boomed. You need a new mind, bro.
That's exactly right.
Your mind's been conformed to one thing, but it's taking you, it was hurting you.
Yes. That's right.
I mean, that is an interesting thought. People they work with these negative catalysts, the enemy say, just negativity, death, failure, and they're building these internal images of themselves, and it actually turns out, and it's actually killing them. It's snuffing the life out of them.
You're exactly
right.
You
didn't feel good with all that.
No. And I mean, we're constantly wrestling with these things too, because it is a network in our body. So when we create these beliefs, like a negative belief, for instance, it's literally occupying and taking up real estate in your brain.
Yeah.
Like it's a physical structure in your brain.
Well, it's data.
It is.
It's an electronic data.
That's right. And we refer back to it in order to make other decisions.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Right?
So the paradigm, what is somebody's paradigm? Well, it's that process, when you're like if we were to test this right now and I say, hey, I want you to think of a red car.
Yes.
So our mind is, I don't know how many millions or billions of processes are happening, going front to back, drawing from everything that's been put in there to bring back an image of a red car in response to that. And so here you are, let's fast forward this. So here you are standing literally about to go up, you're graduating, you're the keynote speaker, you won a leadership award, and suddenly your mind is bringing up how to respond to this moment.
Yes.
There was an internal paradigm that was really militating against this huge success in your life.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, literally, you were in a moment, you could have tossed it in the you could have screwed up, went up there and said, you know what, guys, I'm a loser.
It's true.
But people are in those moments of decision all the time.
Every day. Multiple times a day.
They're reaching up to grab the door of the place that they got invited to have an interview, and they're second guessing it right there before they even go in.
You're absolutely right.
Or there's somebody that they've fallen in love with, and they want to ask them to marry them, and they go, oh, I'm such a loser.
Yep.
And they, but all this is internal.
Yes. And the thing is, so many times, it's literally an answer to a prayer that we've been asking the Lord for. God, show me the way. Introduce the door. Help me have the opportunity. Help me get through this. And we expect that it's going to fall into our lap in this pretty packaged, perfectly wrapped gift. Mm-hmm. And instead, 90% of the time, it's really in the form of a subtle challenge. Sometimes it's big.
Challenge.
Sometimes it's
others.
Good.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why. Again, it doesn't mean that you're going to get it right on the first attempt. Like if you're reaching out to make that connection with a relationship or the job or advance in your health or, whatever it might be that you want to work toward, that you've been praying for, guidance for in your life. There's a reason why they're introduced as challenges.
Yeah.
So that we can be better equipped when we get on the other side of it.
So let's say on the interview, you actually went inside and you just stuttered your way through it. You're like, why did I say that?
Never invited back to the show.
but yet even in that, we're saying, hey, look, don't interpret that as ultimate failure.
Right.
Interpret it as one of those many failures that was catalytic towards readjusting, rearranging, causing you to rethink.
That's right.
To look at things you wouldn't have thought about before. Maybe that moment was a catalyst to get you to think, maybe I should slow down, or maybe I should study up on this, or maybe I should acquire this new skill. These are all playing into, if they'll read it right,
Exactly.
all playing into future successes, basically.
No, exactly. But look what most people do. They try one time.
And then they call it,
And they're like, I'm not good at that. That's not me. That's not what I'm supposed to do.
Wow.
And then they go back and they're like, God, help me, please.
Wow.
It's like, I just did.
Yeah.
Now you do your part.
I'll suck it up, Buttercup. Get in there and do it again. I mean, sometimes we need a good coach, huh, Wes?
No, for sure. For sure. Well, that's the thing that actually helped me develop. I refer to it as having a purpose mindset now, but it goes back to
I love it. Yeah.
That verse that you described was like, look, renew your mind, and not like one time. Like the transformation part is not something that we're responsible for, right? God can do any transformation.
Sure.
Transform anything into good. But we're really called to be responsible for the renewing of our mind, right? And so some practical sort of like actionable items here that your audience can take with them, just to give kind of context to what we're talking about, is like, what are you doing when you first wake up in the morning? If you're like most people, you're probably reaching for your phone, the very first thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
So I'll just share that in order to wake up, biologically, our brain has to release cortisol. It's the stress hormone.
Okay.
And cortisol is not an inherently bad thing. It's something that we have to have in order to survive. Stress is actually, in moderation, something that's very important for a lot of reasons. We overindulge in it, though. And one of the ways that we do that is upon waking, there's about a 20-minute window there where we're very impressionable in our mind.
Wow.
And if we reach for our phone...
Wait, I don't want to talk about this anymore, Wes. Sorry,
someone's
I'm
guilty.
joking. Go ahead.
Someone's...
Go ahead.
I'm not speaking directly to you. If we reach
this
for our
is
phone,
good.
So if we reach for our phone, okay, obviously there's like virtually a limitless number of things that we can pull up on the phone. But most of us are going to start answering messages. We're going to start responding to texts, looking at emails, or pulling up social media.
Actually, okay, truth be told, I use it as my alarm, so I had to turn my alarm off, okay?
No. Hey, I'm right there with you. But here's the thing: if we pull if we pull up social media, if the person really thinks about what they're experiencing when they're scrolling through, looking at the lives of other people, it's usually this feeling of inadequacy.
Yeah, sure.
Well, look at this person. Their marriage is perfect. Why isn't mine?
Yeah.
Their kids are so great. They're on vacation. They're having a great time. They're fit. I'm not.
Yeah, right.
And we immediately
They
go
got a
into
new
this way of
car.
thinking.
They got a new dog.
Exactly.
Look at what they're eating.
Yeah. We go into the comparison.
Yeah.
The first thing that we do, so many of us, as soon as we wake up. And so we really set the tone for the remainder of the day, right? Out of that state, because we're doing that in that opening window. And we start to view the world and our day-to-day activities through that lens.
Yeah, kind of jaded a little bit.
Jaded and inadequate.
Yeah.
Right? Not being enough, not measuring up.
Dude, that's like a sip of depression right in the morning for a lot of people.
So true. It's so true. And the reason why, this is so important to me is because I was able, again, initially spiritually by God's grace I got to share this next part of this because when I was able to really put in the work, I'm telling you, dude, I obsessed about speakers, motivational speakers, coaching, mentors, programs, podcasts, books, and I discovered like personal development. And again, I thought, okay, well, if we can rewire the brain to recover from traumatic brain injury, I can certainly rewire this thing to think positively, to believe in myself.
Wow.
To have a conviction around who I am and what I'm capable of. And when that happened, I realized God was working on my heart. And he got to me. And we had been going to some different churches, and it was 2/2/2020. So it's only been a couple of years now.
Oh, wow.
And I had heard it been said so many times before, and I thought that I had. accepted the Lord.
Yeah, right.
But it was the way that it was said. And he said, you might feel great about your afterlife and eternity, but you haven't actually made Christ the very center of your life.
Wow.
And I thought, you know what? Through all of this, he's kind of been at the periphery. I mean, he really has. Like, I've worked so hard to do all of the right things, and no matter what I've achieved and accomplished, it hasn't given me fulfillment. Even all of the good external things that anyone could ask for. I mean, I have it all. As far as I was concerned, I was like a king at this point in my life. But there was something missing, and I realized, okay, God, you've been working on trying to really get to my heart. And when I let him in and I invited the Holy Spirit to be within me, it changed. It all changed.
Wow.
But I'm telling you, if anybody out there has some mental barriers, some mental health problems, some issues around depression, anxiety, PTSD, I want to give you some hope right now.
Yeah.
Because those things can change. And I'm telling you, God's not going to abandon you. You're not forsaken. You're not too broken.
Come on.
You're not too lost.
Thank you.
And the thing that he's working on is to get back into your heart. He really is. And when that happens, anything's possible. Anything's possible. And that's really what set the trajectory for the work that I do now. I just had to put that out there because that's what matters.
That's phenomenal.
After that, I realized I had a testimony to share. And the pandemic hit pretty much immediately after.
Yeah, like March of that year, right? It was full on.
Yeah, so we were concerned, I think in February, like, oh, this might turn into something. And then like a month later, like the whole world shut down basically. Yeah. And everything changed, and I had to change the work that I was doing.
Okay, yeah.
I went from having a brick and mortar wellness clinic.
Yeah.
That was hard. It was hard to run that. And then when the pandemic hit, I was closing doors, and I thought, well, what do I do now with my career, Lord? Who am I called to serve? And he introduced a concept to me. I heard for the first time the term servant leader used. And I thought, that's who the Lord wants me to be. He wants me to be a servant leader. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
But this is the identity that I need to claim now. I've adopted an entirely new mindset, a purpose mindset. And now it's time to claim a new identity, one that's rooted in him and in his goodness.
Can I jump in here just real quick?
Please, yeah.
So when you said you kind of adopted this purpose mindset, just for a moment, then get back on track here. But so did you just you realize, man, I have a purpose. Like, man, I'm here for something. Can you talk into that? Like, when you came to that, like, wow, purpose.
Yes. Yeah.
Talk into that a little bit.
That's a huge, that's everything actually. So here's what the big revelation was for me was
because you had all this stuff. You were a doctor.
Sure.
I mean, your wife's amazing. Your family's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, you had all these different things.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, here comes purpose, though.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And I mean, we all have glimpses of what our life purpose is, right? And truly, like, the journey of life for so many of us is to discover what that is.
Right.
I mean, we start asking ourselves from a pretty young age, like, what's my purpose?
Am I supposed to be a firefighter or a policeman or an astronaut?
Exactly. You know? But so often we base our sense of purpose in life over some achievement.
Okay.
Like that we can climb the mountain of life and our purpose is waiting at the top and we're going to accomplish this thing. And like, that's our life purpose, this one big thing or something.
Right.
And that is a complete misconception.
Wow.
Our purpose in life isn't based off of a single thing that one day we're going to get to do.
Right.
And that's why God put us here. Our purpose is actually much more present. And so without getting like too much going down that rabbit hole, but so many of us spend very little time being present. Okay. So going back to what I was saying about, get into reaction mode the moment that we wake up. Before our eyes are even open, we're reacting, right? And we're either living in the past, we're reliving past experiences, usually ones that are disempowering for us.
Yeah.
Embarrassing moments, shameful moments, painful moments. We relive these things. We see them over and over again in our mind, right? Our body actually, when that happens, releases all of the same hormones, all of the same biochemicals, so we feel that way again.
You literally almost re-experience it on an emotional, chemical, and electrical level.
You
is what
absolutely
you're saying.
do, and the brain doesn't know the difference.
Yeah.
That's what's
Really,
wild.
that's how powerful the imagination is. I've done
Yes.
some podcasts on that. That's phenomenal study. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So the brain doesn't know the difference. It thinks that that's happening again. You were hurt previously. You got your heart broken. You were traumatized. You were, ashamed. And you relive that over and over again. And your brain and your nervous system literally experiences the same thing.
Wow.
So if we're not spending our time in the past, we're usually projecting out into the future that we can't control, and we're expecting things to go wrong. We're thinking like, oh, this is going to go south. This will fall apart. What if this happens? And that creates anxiety. So the past creating essentially a wellspring of depressive emotions and experiences, and then the future creating a sense of anxiety.
Yeah.
And we are very rarely intentional about being present with where we are.
Wow.
And we associate our life purpose, again, to some future state, some future accomplishment. When in actuality, if we reframe purpose in our life to be something that we can serve, not get for ourselves, the whole game changes.
Wow.
Our purpose isn't something that we take or acquire for ourselves to have, like so many of us think it is. We think that we're going to have our purpose. It's not for us to have.
Wow.
Our purpose is something that
Wow.
we serve. It's how we contribute. It's how we give to a greater purpose that gives us that sense of meaning and fulfillment in life. God didn't put us here to take things for ourselves. He put us here to create this relationship so that we can give.
Wow. I've heard you kind of explain that before, but I think I'm actually go ahead. Like I'm really seeing it now. Wow. Man,
Well, and
think about it, even something as powerful as purpose, it still is kind of like this selfish, we will do whatever we need to acquire, but it's still selfishly driven even.
It is. It's too often it is.
And so even it could still be the dog eat dog, step on, doesn't matter who you hurt, doesn't matter who you abandoned in the process, because I'm after my purpose.
Yes.
Whatever that one object or that,
Well, even if we have like seemingly good intentions behind it.
Right.
Right. Where it's like, I want to be able to do this and it's going to help a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right.
But I ain't got time for you because I'm after my purpose.
Exactly. And we're reacting to everything that life's throwing at us, all the pressure and the demands. And again, if we were to recognize, okay, wait a second, if I'm present right now, okay, Justin, like my purpose in life is to be present here with you, bro.
Yeah, wow.
This is my purpose in life right now in the moment.
Yeah.
This is a gift from God that I'm present for, I'm grateful and thankful for, and I'm connected to you. It's these three things that create that purpose mindset.
Wow.
Presence, gratitude, and connection. I'm literally serving my purpose in life. Now you and I both know my eldest son's here in the building.
Yeah. Hey.
If
you want, you can come jump in here.
When I leave here and I get back in the car with him, my purpose in life is to be a good father to him. I'm to be present with him, to be thankful for him, and to be connected with him. When I get home and I see my wife and I'm with my wife, my purpose in life is to be a good husband, to be present with her, to be thankful for her, and to be connected to her. And if we live in the present, we can be serving God's purpose in our life constantly, throughout the day, every day. That's what a purpose mindset is having that mindset built around the purpose that you're created for every day, and not taking it for granted, not becoming disconnected from it, not thinking selfishly and becoming self-centered again, but thinking in terms of
Dude.
How is this contribution that I have, this time that I have with my unique gifts, talents, and experiences, how can this serve right now? Right? That's what everybody has the opportunity to have. Every single person that's listening and watching today has that opportunity.
Wow.
Regardless of what you think about yourself or feel about yourself, that opportunity is there for you. It's probably happening about 10 times a day. And it can be small things where you might have the opportunity to pass a complete stranger and genuinely smile and say, hey, how are you? Let me shine a little bit of my light for you to have. That's it.
Wow. Go over those three things. One,
Yeah, it's practicing being present,
being present,
being
goodness.
grateful, and being connected. And it's not more complicated than that. We can dive in and say what those things actually mean.
Sure. Yeah.
I think we've kind of covered the being present piece. And there's tools and strategies around being able to do that more effectively.
One thing I had to do that was helping me be present, I had to actually get rid of social media off of my phone. You know, that because here I was, I'm sitting here. Maybe I came home from work, depending on what I was doing that day. Maybe I wasn't able to do this and that, so I'd come home and I'd sit in my chair. Well, and dude, I wasn't present. I mean, I was in another world.
Yep.
And I realized over a period of time here, like, hey, there was some catalysts that kept drawing me out of the moment. Social media for me was one of them. You know, I'm not saying everybody has to do that, but that was definitely something that I had to recognize as like, hey, this is drawing me out into la la land somewhere. Here's my children, here's my wife, and I wasn't even present.
Yeah. Well, and it was unconscious. You know, it was getting back into that repetitive routine.
Yeah.
And we're constantly doing that.
Like muscle memory even.
Yeah.
Like that motion, reaching in, grab my phone, flipping it on, punching in my password.
It's the same automation process that happens when you learn how to drive a car.
Man, it's embarrassing.
All your brain is doing is just saying like, oh, this is important. This is a priority. Every single day, Justin pulls out the phone or, Susan turns on the TV or whatever it might be. And the brain says, okay, well, let's adapt to that. Let's make it easier where she doesn't have to think
mold.
about it.
Let's conform the plasticity.
Yep.
Literally, it becomes part of you.
That's exactly right. Yeah. That process, like one of my favorite analogies to describe it is actually, if you were to imagine a field, okay? I give this example a lot, but an open field. And if you were to go from point A and to try to get to point B, you walk across that field, and now maybe you've trampled some of the growth that's there. Mm-hmm. You continue to walk across it multiple times, and it gets trampled further until a path starts to form. Yeah. Then you find out, well, hey, I need to become more efficient at this. So you actually start paving the way, right? And then it goes from being a walking path to, well, let's actually be able to transport more quickly. And let's create a single lane where you can drive a vehicle. And then more and more and more, this is what the brain does. This is exactly the same process. It lays down more neural connections to make that faster and more efficient until you have an 8-lane highway. Yeah. And you can drive a Ferrari across and just get it done. So that happens with our behaviors. It happens with our thoughts. It happens with our language. And it happens so fast because we've trained and conditioned ourselves.
So we're not saying that process is wrong. We're saying utilize that process in the direction, maybe even the revelation of, what the Lord has for you, things, part of your assignment, your mandate, your calling, your anointings or whatever.
Yes.
Utilize that where you are gaining the advantage of it rather than it working against you.
Absolutely, 100%.
So be present is number one.
Yes.
Boy, that is so powerful. In fact, we need to do a podcast on that because that thought right there, just being present, because there are so many distractions against us now, from technology to, people's margins are screwed up, their priorities are messed up. So they're really not present in the thing that they really want to be present in.
That's true.
Okay, so present, and then what was the other two?
Second is gratitude. It's being grateful. And there's, I know it sounds kind of cliche, but there's legitimate power in gratitude. I mean, like, crazy amounts of power that can be documented and proven with well-backed research around the power of gratitude and getting into a state of gratitude.
Wow.
And so when we say that, it's not just simply saying like, oh yeah, of course I'm like thankful for my life and my family. It's like getting into a state that you're literally experiencing gratitude. And one of my favorite definitions of gratitude is that you're in a state prepared to give back for all that you've received.
Wow, man, I've never heard that. But that is awesome. Okay, you're prepared to give back
For everything that
for
you've
everything
received.
you've received.
And specifically receiving what you've received in your life, not earned, not taken, not purchased, not achieved, what you've received. So when you know, the old saying, count your blessings, it actually has a lot of weight here.
Yeah,
Because when you do that and you actually spend time redirecting your focus in the present moment for the things that you're grateful for, and you create a pattern, a repetitive conditioning cycle to be in a state of gratitude, your entire life experience changes.
yeah,
And doors will open, and God's blessings and gifts in your life will be revealed more abundantly when you're in a state of gratitude. Because you can't be in a state of gratitude and a state of fear, scarcity, lack, insecurity at the same time.
yeah. I would say it probably also is catalytic towards joy, too,
Yes,
right? Like
absolutely.
enthusiasm, because you're like,
That's right.
wow, look at these. Look,
That's
they just gave that to me.
yes, that's right.
Not just material things, but whatever. You know, you're responding to you're recognizing, right? Help me here. Recognizing that, hey, somebody thought of me.
Yes.
That they gave me something.
And look at the automatic reflex that you feel when you receive openly.
Yeah.
When someone wants to bless you or give to you or contribute their time or their talents to you, the first inclination that we have as human beings, because this is part of our design, is to want to give back.
Wow.
We have this urge to say, hey, I want to pay it forward. I want to bless you back. I want to give now. I want to contribute. I want to serve my purpose now. I want to be a contributor in this process. There's a reason why. That's the way God designed us.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
It's, again, not to be takers, but this is something that's important also, is that you don't want to reject someone's blessing in your life.
Yeah.
If
Right.
someone wants to give and bless you, be open to that.
Yeah.
Just be open. You don't want to deny that blessing and cut that off.
Yeah.
Right? That gives them an opportunity to serve.
Yeah.
Right? And so a lot of times we don't want to be selfish, and we're like, no, you don't have to do that. And it's like, you know what? Actually, it's okay to accept a blessing from time to time.
I had a
'cause that's how God
conversation,
moves.
Wes, about this with somebody the other day, and they were telling me that they struggle receiving. And so, you know, I said, well, you know, the Bible says it's better to give than to receive, but it didn't say it's bad to receive.
That's right.
And I just encouraged them to say, look, you know, it's a little bit of pride actually for you to struggle receiving something. But I said, you know, the honor that went in, the thought, the time they thought of you, they contemplated what would bless you. They, you know, were maybe hoping for a reaction, you know, a positive one. Yeah. I said, here's what you need to practice. Say thank you.
Yes. That's it. Gratitude.
Get in the habit of just thank you.
Yes. That's right. That's exactly right.
I said, no.
It is a pride thing.
Yeah.
I think it really is a pride thing.
Yeah.
You know, so many of us want to like disrupt that whole process because we think so transactionally a lot.
Yeah.
Right. We're always in this like bartering and trading mindset and transactions, when it's like, no, like God literally uses us to bless other people.
Yeah.
Right? Like we have the light inside.
Yeah.
To let it shine for others to see. And if someone's trying to like shine light through gift giving or blessing in any way,
Yeah.
and you say, no, let me put a bowl over that lamp, right? Like Christ said, like specifically not to do that.
Don't do that.
Right? Like either with your own light or somebody else's.
Yeah.
And so anyway, the other thing that I wanted to mention regarding this is there's a process called hedonic adaptation.
Okay.
Okay. And this is really important. Okay. Because it's going to give everybody a little bit of encouragement for some of the things that you might feel guilty for, to be honest.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a process that we go through as human beings. This is very similar to adapting and learning to drive the car, that analogy. If you can imagine, let's say, this is funny, when you met your partner or your spouse, right? how exciting that was. That feeling of love and enjoyment. And oh my gosh, they're perfect. They're beautiful. They're so handsome. I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with them, right? That feeling.
Yeah.
And then they're just your wife. And then they're just your husband.
Or the old lady.
The old lady, right? Yeah, right. The old ball and chain, right? That might take a year, it might take 2 years, it might take 10 years. But unfortunately, it happens for so many of us in those relationships with the people that matter most to us. That's a process. If you go and you get a new vehicle, and there's the smell of the vehicle, and oh my gosh, everything's perfect. I can't believe it. I can't stop thinking about it. I'm obsessing about it. And then it's just your car.
Wow.
Right? I can't wait to get the new job. It's going to be so great. I have this new team, this new boss. I'm going to be able to do all these things. It's just my job. Right? The new home. We're moving to this new place. We're settled in. Oh my gosh, everything's perfect. Then it's our house. Yeah, I got to fix things with that. Right? That takes time. That's a process. That's a process. And that process is called hedonic adaptation.
Okay. Wow.
There's a reason why. Because again, our brain and our body and our nervous system has to have a new set point for what it considers to be normal. There has to be a new baseline that's set for what we consider to be like, yeah, that's just the way it is, right? If you went from, some of my background and upbringing and those experiences, and you planted me into the life that I have now, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is possible, right? But then even dramatic changes, we all begin to take for granted. And if we were to get into our car every day and freak out the same way that we did when it was a new car, it wouldn't make sense. Every time you saw your partner, it's like, I'm so in love. Can I spend every waking moment with you? It's like, no, we've been, All right, so hedonic adaptation isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it can be. Because again, it leads us down the path of taking these good things for granted in life.
Oh, okay.
When we no longer recognize and are truly grateful for the things that we have that were once so exciting and important to us, we've now began to take those things for granted. And now life, there's not enough. Well, if I just had this, I'd be happy. If we just went here, I'd be happy. If we just moved here, I'd be happy. Well, if my marriage was better and they did this, I'd be happy. If I just, right? We're constantly moving the target out instead of recognizing, okay, if I'm present right now, and I'm truly grateful for what I have, I can keep that entire process of hedonic adaptation at bay a little bit. So that my baseline now becomes gratitude.
Wow.
Instead of lack, instead of things not being enough. And the way that you do it is you recall the reasons why you're grateful. And this is something that, the industry that I'm in now in personal development isn't common. It's not common practice. A lot of things that are related to like gratitude journaling and positive words of affirmation and things like that. It said you need to come up with new novel things to be grateful for all the time. And I argue that because of this reason.
I see. Wow.
And what we want to do, again, going back scripturally, saying renew your mind every day. Every day. This is my recommendation, like literally, to everybody listening and watching. Have something, a notepad, a journal of some sort, that every day you write down those good things in your life and how you're grateful for them. And they don't have to be like something new every time. It can be, I'm grateful for my home.
Yeah.
I've lived in this house for 20 years. It's a good house.
Yeah. But I'm grateful.
I'm grateful. Been married to my partner. They drive me crazy.
Yeah.
We've been married 30 years. But God, I love them. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
Be grateful. Practice it. Because if we just leave it out in the ether, yeah, of course I'm thankful for all these things. We're not bringing it to the center of our focus. And we don't take it out of the unconscious part of our mind and put it to the conscious part of our mind. And the reason why that's so important is because we make decisions based off the conscious part, right? We make day-to-day decisions based off that if we want to go in a particular direction in life. And that's a practical strategy that anybody can begin.
That made me think of, Wes, some marriage counseling materials that I've come across over the years. And one suggestion to people, kind of depending on what the situation is, but a common suggestion is when there's kind of been a kind of like distance, there's been this gap between the husband and wife, is people say, well, I just don't know if I love them anymore or whatever. Well, one solution to that, a common solution, would be to have whichever one sit down every day and think of like anywhere from 5 to 15 things when they think back that they're grateful for, that they're thankful for. And, the data is so many marriages, have been repaired because that's really all it took was just bringing back up, wow, I'm so thankful for this. I'm just so grateful for how they did that or how they do that. They brought it back up to where they were aware of it again.
That's right.
And, and unnecessary distance.
Yeah.
They weren't present in their marriage anymore because they stopped being thankful. They stopped recognizing where appropriate. There's a saying: "Give honor where honor is due." Give gratitude where gratitude's due. And
Amen.
if we don't do that, if we don't practice that, we take it for granted.
That's right. That's exactly right. And then we blame. We blame the other person.
Yeah.
Like you said, well, they're not making me happy anymore. Right?
Dude,
I don't.
What a false accusation.
Exactly. And we think that it's the other person, and we think that the solution is some sort of external change that needs to take place.
But that's because you stopped being thankful.
Yeah, it's the paradigm shift, right?
Wow.
It's always going to go back to the internal paradigm that we're holding to be true.
Yeah.
So and so doesn't, do this for me, right? That our marriage fell apart because of X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
And really, we don't take that accountability and the time to evaluate, wait a second, where did I start dropping the ball along the way?
Uh-huh.
Right? And like you said, it compounds over time, distance is created, and unfortunately, divorce is through the roof.
And that could apply to a job. You actually probably have a really good job now, you unthankful.
It's true.
Don't leave. Yeah. Maybe consider recognizing, hey, what, have I been present here?
Yep. No, that's right.
People start, distance. I'm feeling distance. Yeah, because you checked out.
Yep.
And you're not thankful anymore. You don't recognize, and this would solve a lot of people's problems, Wes.
Well, that's, the work I'm doing. Yeah, really. The third one, and I don't know how we are in time.
Share with us the third one.
Yeah, the third one being connection. Right?
Okay.
There's a few dimensions here as far as like remaining connected. One is first and foremost to the Creator, right? Having that relationship, having that connection. The other is it's the internal connection that we're talking about here. When you wake up, you have a physical experience, you have a mental experience, and you have an emotional experience. Mm-hmm. And those things can be really misaligned for a lot of us. We might be having back pain, right?
Oh,
which
man.
you and I are familiar with.
Yeah.
If you're in physical pain, that can directly influence your mental faculties, your mental bandwidth, and the amount of energy before you're exhausted mentally. When that happens, it's going to impact your emotional bandwidth as well. So you get home, you've had a long day at work.
Then that's when you get angry, snappy, touchy.
Exactly. Less patient, right? And you start making bad decisions, start saying things you don't mean, right? That happens over a period of time, and you start to get into a state of burnout. And that's really what I want to help people with, what I'm doing now with the work that I'm doing.
Wow.
So many people are experiencing being burned out at this point because of the last 2+ years. The world did get flipped upside down with COVID and so many other things. But in our day-to-day lives, we've lost that sense of like purpose, that sense of meaning with the work that we do in our home lives. And people end up becoming disconnected, feeling mentally exhausted, and that feeling like no matter what you do, it's never enough. And when we get internally connected with who we are, our sense of identity, the vision that we have for ourselves, the potential that we know that we're capable of, and we start investing in taking action with that, with God's will, then we can become connected with that third part, and that's with others. And that's where we can put into practice serving the purpose that we were truly created for.
Wow. Man, Wes, There's just not enough time on these podcasts. Hey, send us an email, hello@gracecitychurch.tv if you'd like us to do a podcast specifically on burnout. I think we should anyways, though, because, man, I'm telling you, I think a lot of people are facing that. We can really dive down into some of the particulars there. But, Wes, in the last couple minutes we have, tell us, if there's just any closing comments or thoughts you have for the listeners, viewers, whatever, just kind of the last words of wisdom say. But then let us know how we can, tell us about what you're doing. You have social media, website. How can we get a hold of everything that you are doing now?
Yeah. Thank you again, bro. Seriously, for getting to be here. This
has been fun. This has been
I hope
rich,
we're playing
man.
another one.
Oh, this has been rich,
getting
dude.
into it today. Thank you, though, and thank you to everybody that's been here. You can go to, it's actually at servant-leader.com. That's a platform that I'm working on. We're getting ready to do a total relaunch. We've got a product coming out that is a personal empowerment program that individuals can get enrolled in. And it's all these principles that we're talking about. The other is being able to step in and help teams, help organizations that are struggling with this, with their people.
Yeah.
And through developing servant leadership, you can look me up on social media. All that's being reworked and rebranded around all of what we were talking about today.
Okay.
So, yeah, look forward to a lot of good things there.
So you're pretty much everywhere?
Instagram, Facebook. The new direction is going to be specifically around giving insight, inspiration, actionable tools and strategies every single week. I have a podcast that I've started recently called Purpose Mindset.
Yeah. And
that's bringing on guests of all different walks of life. And we talk about a lot of deep stuff, to be honest. So if any of this content today resonated for people, there's more of that there. And I just want to help, more than anything. Feel free to connect with me. There's a way that I can serve you or point you in the right direction. I just want to give you hope and encouragement. And if you don't believe in yourself, borrow some belief from me. I believe in you, and I truly know that God has good things in store for you, that He has a plan for you. Anything's possible in your life. Believe that. Know that to be true. The last place that you can find me is actually I do a morning devotional reading.
Yeah, man.
Jesus Calling. Every single day, 7 days a week. And you can find that on Facebook.
Amen.
I just want to help.
Jesus is calling. Answer the phone call. Hallelujah. Open the door. Listen, this truly, I just want to vouch for Wes. Has been phenomenal. But listen, Wes is one of those people that will help you turn your world upside down. And I think just even today, you've got some nuggets that will begin making some things that just haven't been, they've been inverted. And some of these little changes will totally change your world, friends. Listen, if we can help you in any way, it would be our honor to do so. One way specifically is we can agree with you in prayer. If maybe something came up during the podcast, listen, if there's not somebody close to you, we're here for you. You can call us 870-741-9099 or send us an email, hello@gracecitychurch.tv. Let us agree with you in prayer. I want to say thank you to all of our financial contributors. Man, wow, there's a little bit of cost to do this. Those of you who have paid it forward, we're so grateful. If you would like to participate in that way, several ways you can do that. You can go to the website, gracecitychurch.tv/give, or if you're in the United States, you can text to give 84321. That's 84321. Or mail us a check at P.O. Box 7, Harrison, Arkansas 72602. Listen, friends, this has been a joy to be here. Check out Wes's stuff. He'll help you. It'll be rich. And until next time, friends, be blessed.